Welcome back, Helldivers. I recently made a YouTube short discussing how to calculate damage in Helldivers 2. Something that I was not aware of was a stat called the durable stat, or durability, which I had no idea until like last week. A lot of people have asked where I got this data from and how they could access it themselves. So I thought I'd make a long form video. This is gonna be a math class about how you can look at the health of enemies, the damage your weapons do, and calculate how the optimal DPS. And I think that's a good way to look at these kind of videos, because you can go through all these numbers and you can say this X weapon should guarantee 2-shot this enemy if you shoot in this location. However, the reality of that is, A, sometimes it just doesn't work. B, sometimes aiming is an issue, and this is actually a great way for me to go, actually, this is a skill gap. I counted 8 shots to kill this thing and it should have only been 2, so obviously something was missing. And this was actually an issue with the new Exo Mech because of the angles of the gun. It was actually hard to hit certain shots. So it's a cool way to think about weapon testing, because you can say if you hit 100% of all your shots, it should only take 2. However, in reality, with a moving enemy and maybe you don't have any stun grenades, or maybe you're in a mech and you can't stun, it's going to take this many. Cool. I'm going to show you how to read this data. I'm going to show you where it came from. I'm going to just acknowledge some other people that I watched before we get there. And then we're going to do a working example. It's basically a math class. Yay. Right. So this all started because I was looking on Reddit for information about the new mechs, and I discovered this post by Key Negotiation. I'll leave all this links down below. And they put together a spreadsheet with weak points and how many times you can shoot things in certain spots, and if they'll penetrate and how much damage they'll do. And they said that this information came from Helldivers.io. I was very familiar with Helldivers.io previously because of the Galactic War information they had on there, but didn't realize they had a whole bunch of database stuff on there. I went on to their Discord. I did send a couple of messages to the owner of the website just to clarify how to interpret some of this data and to clarify if this information is updated automatically, i.e. as soon as a patch goes through, should this be accurate? And the answer was yes, it's automatically updated. It's taken from the Helldivers server. It's taken from the server, so this information should be accurate. And I did watch Eravin. This video helps me clarify some of my thoughts and how to interpret some of this data too, so I'll leave a link to their channel down below as well. Cool. So what do? Type in helldivers.io in your browser and head over here. You go to, at the top, there'll be a link that is databases. Click on databases, you have stratagems, equipment, weapons, and enemies. As an example, let's take a look at the Hulks. The Hulk Bruiser. The Hulk Bruiser has 1,250 total health. If this health is ever reduced to 0, the Hulk dies. The main body of the Hulk has level 5 armor and has 60 durable. I often call it durability, but it's often just referred to as just durable, like the durable stat. I'm going to explain how that works in a second. If you've watched YouTube shorts, you probably have some idea. The left arm has 500 health. It does have explosion immunity, and apparently this is to stop like double ups of explosive damage. Like, for example, if you shot it in the center plate, you get explosive damage to the center plate, then you get explosive damage to the arms, you get explosive damage. You get like multiplied explosion damage on enemies. And apparently, this is what I saw on Eravin's channel, this was also what was happening to Helldivers. So that was why we were taking like quad damage from rocket devastators. Do you remember when rocket devastators like one-tapped you? Because it was like applying explosive damage to like every body part. Anyway, some aspects of enemies have explosion immunity, and as you'll see, all components of an enemy have their own health pools as well. So the left arm has 500 health, the right arm has 500 health. They also have different armor. So the main body is level 5 armor, and by the way, in the game you're probably just used to light, medium, and heavy, but if you start looking at the stats, it's actually just numbers. So they have level 5 armor for the main body. The arms are only level 4 armor, And if you shoot the arms, you'll do 30% to main. What this means is, let's say you destroy the left arm, you remove 500 health completely from the left arm. 30% of 500 will be taken off the total health. So that reduces the total health. And if an enemy is reduced to 0, then it will die. Interesting thing about the Hulks is if you actually do the math on all of these and shoot off both arms and both legs, I'm pretty sure you don't get to 1250. So that's why Hulks can like limp around the map with no arms, and there's even an achievement to shoot off both arms of a Hulk and leave them alive and extract. So that's what the percentage to main means. And then 70% durable. So different parts also have different durabilities. So that's going to be important a bit later on. There are some things in here that I still don't understand. Like, for example, the leg has bleeds out 600. Of course, there are really obvious enemies that have bleed outs. For example, you know, shooting the back of a charger doesn't kill it instantly, but it does bleed out. So now I'm just thinking, that must mean it bleeds out 600. Okay, maybe if you did shoot both arms, I'll have to math this, but maybe if you did shoot both arms and legs, you would get enough for it to die. There you go, working stuff out as we go. Anyway, it's got level 4 armor, 30% main, 80% durable. Right. Now, the other thing to know with certain body parts is some are fatal, and you likely know this from playing Helldivers. So for the head of the Hulk, it's only 250 health, but it is fatal. So if you reduce that body part to 0, the Hulk will die, which is why you can shoot the Hulk in the faceplate, in the eye, and it will die. The whole thing dies. You don't have to get the 1250 to 0, you just have to take out that specific part of the enemy. And of course, as you know, with the Hulk, it has the vent at the back, which is the weak spot, has 1000 health, and it is, of course, also fatal, and has level 1 armor, which is why you can just bang away with all your weapons on it. Now let's talk about how you read the weapon damage. So this is for the new exosuit, and obviously it has 2 guns, so there's two lines here. The first line here says projectile 300 and then 60. 300 is the normal damage that it does of the projectile, and 60 is the durable damage. I'm going to explain how that works in a second. The next bracket has AP 5555. Now this is the armor penetration value at different angles. The first angle is basically dead on, so if you're directly in front of an enemy, that's the armor penetration value. And then it goes to 25 and 60 degrees, then it goes to 60 to 80 degrees, and then it goes to 80 to 90 degrees. So basically starting direct on and then moving your way around to basically 90 degrees of the enemy, like standing on the enemy's side, it changes the armor penetration value. For this, they remain at armor pen 5, except for 90 degrees. However, other weapons you'll find you'll get ricochets, and the reason you're getting ricochets is because the armor pen value is actually lowering as you get an increased angle. And then as you get a lower armor pen, it ricochets off the armor of the enemy, which I'm going to explain in a second. The K values, the first K value is demo. This is like the demolition value. If you remember back to things like the arc thrower, it had a high demolition value originally, and you could shoot off the doors off sea containers and they'll just blow up. And then you remember there was a patch note like, hey, we dropped like the demo value of arc thrower, so you can't just shoot that anymore. And I think, was it Slugger? There were some other weapons that you could just shoot the doors off sea containers, and that's because they had a high demo value. The next one is, now I had to ask the owner about this one, I believe. So I think they've actually put it as knock damage in the notes on the website, but it's actually stagger. He said actually it's the wrong way around. This should be the stagger value, and this is like staggering enemies, which you should be pretty familiar with if you've played Helldivers for a bit. And the last value is knockback. So guns like concussive guns, you'll see have a huge knockback value. You actually notice it in the game when you push enemies back. Now, there's not only a projectile that you shoot, but there's an explosion too. And you've probably seen this as well. You often like fire a bullet, you'll see like an explosion happen at the point of impact, and then the bullet will do its own thing and the explosion does its own thing too. So with this weapon, the guns on the exosuit, its explosion damage is 150, 150. So 150 normal, 150 durable. Its armor penetration of the explosive damage is 3. So it is less than the projectile, and a lot of the comments on the YouTube shorts was like, well, that makes no sense. How does the projectile get through, but the explosive doesn't? And my only real explanation is essentially that explosion in the game is caused at the point of impact, whereas the projectile passes through stuff. And you actually do see that. You see sometimes you'll see like a ricochet of the projectile, because often it's the other way around, where you have a low projectile armor pen and the explosive damage will be more. For example, Scorcher is a good example. Anyone who's used Scorcher will see like you'll get a ricochet of the projectile, but the explosion actually does damage. And you see that often on Scout Striders. You can kill Scout Striders with the explosive damage, right? This way, in this gun, it's actually other way around. The projectile actually has more armor pen, and explosive doesn't. Once again, you have the K values, demo, stagger, and knockback. And the explosion has R values too, which is its inside radius, its outside radius, and its stagger. I don't actually know what that is. I should have checked with the owner what that actually applies to. But this is the explosion of the radius, essentially. Cool. So now you know how to read the armor, and you know how to read the weapons. Let's do an applied the mathematics session. Okie doke, let's start with the Hulk, and let's just say we use the new exosuits. You don't have to read this, I'm going to read this stuff to you, but these are my stats for the exosuit gun, and these are my stats for the Hulk's armor. Okay, so let's have a look. The main body has level 5 armor, and this is where you need to have played the game, so it's not that bit there, but it is the main body. All this section here, okay, is level, I think it's probably the groin too. This is where you need some in-game experience to know which part the data is talking about. This section here is level 5. So the first thing we have to do is see if armor penetration is above or below or at the same value as that number. For the projectile, we have armor penetration of 5, and we have an explosive penetration of 3. So the armor pen for the projectile is the same. It equals level 5. And the way that works is if it's the same, it only does 50% damage. Okay, 50% damage. If it is less than, it does 0% damage. And if it is greater than, it will do 100% damage. Okay, and I think most people are familiar with that. This is the difference in the crosshairs that you see, the white crosshair versus the red crosshair versus the deflection. So the 0%, if it's greater, the 0% damage, so it's less than, that's when you get a deflection. When you do 50% damage, that's the white crosshair. When you do 100% damage, that's the red crosshair. Okay, so we know that the projectile is going to do 50% damage on the body of the Hulk. Right, the next thing we do is, now that we know that the projectile goes or matches the armor level of the Hulk, we have a look at how much damage it should do. We have 300 normal damage, and we have 60 durable damage. This is where we go over here and we have a look at the durable stat, and it is 60% of the main armor. So it has a 60% durable stat. Now the way this works is it means it takes 60% of 60, and it takes 40% of 300. Okay. And as an example, if the durable stat was 100%, if the durable stat was 100%, it would actually take 100% of the durable stat of your your damage, durable damage. It'll take 0% of the normal one. Now, you can see why they've done something like this. This essentially gives them the ability to give 2 different damage numbers to scale off. So what they can do is, if they want to make something tanky, they say they give it 100% durability, and that means it only takes the 60 damage. Okay. Alternatively, if something has 0% durability, it takes all the 300 damage, and then anything in between is a mixture of those things. And this is why in the YouTube short, when you shoot Bile Titans, they seem to just eat all your shots because they actually have 100% durable on their head. And that means you don't take the small value of 60. Right. Anyway, for Hulks, the body is 60%. So we take 40% of 300. It's going to give us 120. So we do 120 damage. And then we're going to take 60% of 60. And then we're going to take 60% of 60. It's going to give 36. So we're going to do a total of 156 damage per shot. But remember, we have to halve that. So we're only going to do 78 damage per shot if we hit the main armor of a Hulk with the new mech. And the Hulk has a total of 1250 health points. Divided by 78 is going to give you how many shots, which is about 16 shots to the body to take out a Hulk using these stats. Now, why is this useful whatsoever? Well, I'll tell you why. When I was testing the exosuit, I shot lots of Hulks. I tried to hit the eye, and what I was consistently taking to kill a Hulk was about 8 shots. Half of 16. So I obviously was eventually hitting the eye, because if we do the math on the eye, it should only take 2 shots to hit the eye, and from this, and it goes down. So it's a good way for me to then say, actually, look, the exosuit is good. Technically, it can take out the Hulk in 2 shots. If you just spam your weapon, you take it out in 16. But in practice, me aiming for the eye and spamming, I was on average doing about 8 shots to take it out. So it's a nice way to interpret how well a weapon will do against a certain enemy type. It's also really good for me. It saves me time from having to run multiple enemies over and over again to like form averages. Like, for example, I have no idea how many Hulks I shot with the new exosuit. I shot like 5, 10, I don't know. I just went over and over. I repeated missions to just farm Hulks, to just test how many I could shoot, how many times it was going to take, go back through the footage, count how many bullets it was, etc. This at least gives me a figure to aim for. And there you have it. I'll put the links to everything down below if you want to do it yourself. Otherwise, I don't think this is going to hugely change what I do on the channel. When new stuff comes out, I need to see how it runs in practice, and then I'll use this stuff to confirm my results. If you'd like to support the channel and cannot think of a comment, you can leave the word durable, because that's the stat that gets most people, and I didn't know about it until recently. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.